With the latest on the corporate front, all the market trends, expert opinion, and sound business advice, it is your unique window into the business world, direct from the heart of China.
Hello and welcome to Biz Today. I'm Zhao Yang in Beijing. This year's Boao Forum for Asia was concluded on Friday in South China's Hainan province. Global security, the world economy, science and technology innovation, and the impact of artificial intelligence topped the agenda. The forum has released its annual report on Asia's economic prospects. It expects Asia's economic growth to hit 4.5% this year, supported mainly by solid consumption. So what are the driving forces for Asia's economic growth? And what are potential challenges? For more on this, join us on the line now, Andy Mark, Senior Research Fellow at the Center for China and Globalization, Chen Jiahe, Chief Investment Officer at Novum Archi Technologies, and also Ina Tangen, Senior Fellow at the Taihe Institute. So, Andy, I will start with you. This year's report said China remains the cornerstone of the global economic recovery, and China will remain a significant contributor to global economic development, benefiting the entire world from its massive market. So what your thoughts on this?
Well, Zhao Yang, I couldn't agree more. When we look, first of all, at China's GDP growth rate, about 5% last year, about 5% this year is the target. And I think that the way I would look at this current period we're in, it's like a major renovation, a major home renovation. And I think back to before the Beijing Olympics in 2008 in Beijing, where there was a lot of new infrastructure going on, subways, roads were being expanded, et cetera. That made it inconvenient for a time, and it definitely posed short-term challenges. But it positioned Beijing for long-term sustainable growth. And I see the period we're in like this. And I lastly want to say that, the target of about 5% this year is taking into account the challenges, including real estate, facing China. And without these challenges, growth would be even higher.
And Jiahe, so China has sent a clear message through the Boao Forum and also the China Development Forum that the country will continue pursuing opening up and improving the business environment. So how do you assess China's latest efforts for the opening up?
Well, we have seen China has kept on working on things like opening up to the global economy and the global tourists, global businessmen for the past, ever since the ending of the COVID, we started doing that. So that's throughout the 2023 and this year as well. We have seen so many actions taken. For example, the alleviation of visa application for many countries around the world. We have seen much more tourists and people coming into China in recent months. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. So, Andy, how do you assess China's latest efforts for opening up, and what are opportunities do you think will all these measures provide for foreign investors?
Well, I see two areas, Zhao Yang. So first, this week was not just the Boao Forum, but also the China Development Forum. And here I think it's very noteworthy that global business, top global business executives, especially Americans, have voted with their feet. So the American government, as we all know, has been making efforts to suppress China, to isolate China. And yet, this has been the largest contingent of American executives to come to the China Development Forum, including Apple CEO Tim Cook, the AMD CEO, pharmaceutical companies. The representation was very broad. So I think that this shows the positive response to the greater attention that China is paying to the concerns of foreign business, of course, including the meeting with President Xi. The second that I think really important issue that's not getting quite enough attention is the role of currency. So Governor Han Gongsheng said at the Boao Forum that the Asian countries should work together for a bigger role at the IMF. And I think here, boosting currency cooperation within the Asian economies is a complement to other important moves we see, like the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, other moves towards greater regional integration. And this will not only be good for the region, but I think will have very important global repercussions as well as making for ultimately a more stable and predictable financial environment.
So, Aina, actually, Andy mentioned the Asian economy, and Asian demand is solid, and domestic demand is driving growth for the Asian economy. We are also seeing more integration within the Asian region. So, how are these dynamics benefiting the Asian economy?
Well, I mean, China continues to be the low-cost, innovative producer. I mean, you start looking at how China is addressing its deficits created by sanctions, as was pointed out by my colleague. The isolation as policies that the U.S. is trying to impose on China are actually making it stronger and putting it in a better position in terms of the global supply chain. It not only will be able to supply low-cost goods in great volume, great prices, intermediate goods especially, but also start providing very high-tech areas. And this is very important to China because it offers a path beyond the middle-income trap, because when you're at the forefront, of course, your margins are much greater than when you're doing just large production commodity manufacturing. So it's very, very important also from this perspective. It provides a path to developing countries where they see a country that literally rose from nothing years ago and is now on the forefront, not only economically, but in terms of technology. This is something that they haven't seen, the assumption that somehow the West owns all good ideas, or they're able to harvest the great minds of the rest of the world and basically put them to their bidding. That has gone away. China now leads in 25 of 28 important technology sectors. They certainly have the human capital. And I think this is really the sea change that people are paying attention to, that it is not a unipolar economic game anymore owned by the West. It is about the rise of the rest.
So, Andy, a survey shows that the confidence in Asia's economic development was a lot stronger. So, what do you think are some of the key highlights for the region and the world economy?
Well, I think the Asia region is very interesting and unique because in many ways it's a microcosm of the entire planet. But perhaps the cream of it, if I can use that description, in that the economies are the most vibrant. There is a strong complementarity. So as Einar was saying, as China moves up the value chain towards advanced manufacturing, designed in China, not just made in China, other countries, the Vietnams, the Cambodias, are able to offer some of the value that China in the past provided. So manufacturing, things, textiles, these kinds of businesses, as well as, of course, natural resources. So I think that these structural factors really are very, very important, and that if we pay attention to those, we can see that this region, most people would not disagree that this region is the most dynamic and, if not already, rapidly becoming the economic center of gravity globally.
We talk about the economy, but Aina, so how do you think will the disruptive technologies like AI change the global economic models?
Well, Andy and I might disagree on this one in the sense that AI is a tool. It is not a replacement for human beings and things like this. If you know how to use AI, which means that you have to really understand what you're doing. Yeah, it's all about asking the right questions, and you can't do that unless you understand things. it's, as I said, it will have an impact definitely on any kind of industry, especially white collar industries beyond, the car, automotive, replacing drivers and things like that. I think the big impact is going to be on the white collar class because this is the first time that they've been touched. So for your accountant, a lawyer, a consultant. These are areas where people were paid a lot of money to basically assemble information to go through and figure out what was relevant and put it together in reports, condense it, and then pass it on as value-added information. AI can do this much better. And it's still working through a refining process. There biggest issue, though, is one hopefully we get to later, which is what is information and how should it be treated as a public entity like water, which flows, or is something like land, which can be privately owned.
Mm-hmm. So, Andy, do you agree with Ina? Actually, I believe we all witnessed the rise of generative AI towards those large language models with pictures and video generators, etc., etc., and they have really taken the world by storm. And many people at Boao Forum believe that all the industries will eventually be integrated with AI. So, how do you view it?
Well, I think Einar makes some great points. I would say that AI in all its flavors, generative AI, image recognition, predictive analytics, are like electricity. So when we think about a pre-electricity world and a post-electricity world, everything became electrified. Our homes, every industry, the way we move about the world, etc. So I think it's the same. But I think what's important to point out is that there's another way of thinking about AI, and that is what some would call disembodied AI and embodied AI. So most of the AI applications we use today are disembodied AI, meaning that they live digitally and they can only act with information, images, sounds that are created on a computer or an electronic device. However, we're witnessing the early days of embodied AI. And what this means is that AI that can move around the world and do things on its own. So most people see this as the integration of AI with robots. And here, China is in a position to play a leadership role because of China's capabilities in manufacturing, especially in industrial automation. So I think this is something that we will see. Some will go as far as to say that with AI-powered robots, we will see labor supply become infinite. And from an economic perspective, that means that the cost of labor will go to zero. And this will usher in an era of infinite abundance, where anything we need, food, clothes, housing, can all be made by AI-powered robots, more or less for free. So this is not only something that could improve the lives of billions around the world, but has profound political ramifications. So, and this is an area I've actually been spending a lot of time on and have been asked to speak to a number of organizations, including government organizations, about what exactly the political ramifications of this might be. But I think this is very, very important.
Mm-hmm. So, Andy, do you think AI will change the fundamentals in scientific research?
Well, I think it already has. So we look at the ability of AI in protein folding, the ability to discover new drugs. There are many applications where AI is being used to do things that humans can't do in research and development. And what's the exciting and scary thing about this is that some of these discoveries are done in ways that humans can't comprehend. So an example might be we look at the game of Go and how AI was able to beat the best Go player using strategies that humans couldn't understand. Why was the AI doing this? And yet it won. So this is, again, one of the very profound political and even philosophical challenges that AI is posing. And I think these challenges and opportunities are just as important as the technological and commercial ones.
Talking about AI, Aina, what kind of advantages do you think the Asian economies have in this field? And how can Asian nations leverage this advantage to deal with some common challenges?
Well, Asia has been traditionally consumer-driven. You've seen that in the evolution of whether it's EVs or when it was earlier with cell phones. Their ability to have very short cycles of innovation to respond to customer needs has been a winner. And obviously, when you respond to the customer, they like it. But I'm going to disagree with Andy on this. It's not a zero impact type of thing. I remember when the internet came out, they said, oh, no one will use paper anymore. Well, we use quite a bit of paper today. The fact is that 2% of the world's electricity right now is, in fact, being used by AI. And this is at the very beginning. It's going to increase. Yes, there will be some efficiencies derived out of it, but the amount of processing power that is necessary to drive this is very expensive and it'll continue to increase. In terms of how we use this, it comes with both positives and negatives, especially in terms of what is real versus what is not real. These deep fakes are undermining people's understanding of what the facts are. Therefore, they rely more on their emotional driven opinions. And this is not good socially nor politically. You can't run a country when people are just, creating facts to fit their opinions. It just creates complete chaos. But the larger issue here, which I'd love to discuss with Andy at some time, is what is information? A lot of this is data-driven. It's not all. I mean, there's an algorithm in there and things like that. But you have good data will produce good results, especially when you're talking about areas like biomedical and things like this. So, how should governments start to look at that? The free flow of information benefits all, but there are always concerns about security, et cetera. There has to be some way of making information like water, anonymizing it, allowing proper uses for scientific purposes, et cetera, while disallowing it to, for those purposes where people are trying to manipulate each other. Otherwise, you have a situation where you have a lot of little pools or big pools, depending on the size of the country, that basically keep information to themselves and hold back general development. And this is something the scientific community has been looking at. And I think this is really where the debate lies as we go forward. Are we going to embrace an open structure which benefits everybody or create a closed one? And this might be a situation where it's regional, where the global south together develop one system and you have Europe and America developing another.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're speaking with Aina Tengen, Senior Fellow at the Taihe Institute, and Andy Mark, Senior Research Fellow at the Center for China and Globalization, and also Chen Jiahe, Chief Investment Officer at Novim Archi Technologies. And after a short break, we'll take a look at the future of new energy vehicles. Stay with us.
I am Dan Wang, Chief Economist of Hang Seng Bank, China. The World Today is a real fun program. You will hear interesting people discussing global trend, economic event, what's happening in and outside of China. So, friends around the world, hope you can join us.
Welcome. I'm Elaf Elad, economics professor and member of the Data Science and AI Center at New York University, Shanghai. On the World Today program, you can find in-depth and impartial insight, as well as critical commentary on key trends in the Chinese economy, financial technology, business, and blockchain. To prepare for the world tomorrow, join me on World Today.
You're listening to Biz Today. I'm Zhao Yang in Beijing. This year's Boao Forum has also included discussions on the future of new energy vehicles. And the latest news is that China's EV maker BYD has reported a jump of more than 80% in profits in the year 2023. So, Andy, how do you think did BYD achieve such a big jump in profits? And how did it manage to get ahead in the EV era?
I think first is that BYD focused on the most important component in electric vehicles, which is the battery. And this is not something that you can develop mastery overnight. So I think it has built what Warren Buffett might call a moat, or a competitive barrier to entry, according to Michael Porter. But I think also they are vertically integrated. So they not only do the batteries, but they do the design, the manufacturing, the distribution, the sales of cars. And this gives them also a very powerful competitive advantage. It can reduce cost, it can increase turnaround time, and increase customer satisfaction, a little bit the way Apple controls all the major pieces of the consumer experience, hardware, software, the operating system. So I think this is another very important factor. And then finally, they're a bit like the General Motors of the golden era of the automobile in the United States, in that unlike some companies like a Tesla that offers a relatively limited product offering, BYD has a very inexpensive entry-level offering that I believe is about $11,000 to more luxury ones that compete head-to-head with Tesla. And so by offering something for everyone and being very cost competitive, I think that they are very well positioned, and this might be only the beginning of these big profit increases that we're seeing. The last thing I want to say about this, too, is that many great companies succeed not really based on technology, but a very sophisticated business model. And here I think that what they've done is, again, they've built a moat around the most important component, the most technologically advanced component in electric vehicles. They're vertically integrated, and they've identified an opportunity that truly is historic as we go through this global transition from internal combustion engines to new energy vehicles. And let's not forget that the automotive industry is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. So there's a lot of upside, I think, for BYD.
So I know, there is a lot of discussions about the future of auto industries. Do you think it is the smart car and self-driving technology, or is it the new energy vehicles will dominate? I mean, how will the intelligent transformation based on electrification proceed?
Well, there's two schools of thought on that. You either have very smart cars that make independent decisions. Obviously, the cars, you have to put a lot of money into it. Or you create a system which is more based around a centralized control where the processing of the information is gathered from the vehicles and other sensors around, and then decisions are made on a centralized basis. Generally, what happens is it's not the switch is on or off, but it's somewhere in between. In terms of BYD, I just wanted to add to what Andy was talking about, in the sense that BYD, any Chinese company that invests heavily in innovation, developing their own technology, has done well. Whether you're talking about Huawei, CATL, BYD, or TikTok, the danger here is that each one of them is in the process or about to be attacked by the U.S. This is what the U.S. is doing to Chinese companies. Any company that rises above.
So, Andy, there are a lot of international competitions in the new energy vehicle sectors, and investigations, tariffs are underway. So how do you think will that fierce global competition shape the future of the new energy vehicles?
No, I think Einar is absolutely right, that this will not be an easy path for any Chinese technology leader, whether that's Huawei, whether that's BYD or ByteDance. But I do think that in the long run, when we're talking about electric vehicles, that being the low-cost manufacturer matters a lot. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. So I go back also to BYD's focus on R&D. So moving to next-generation batteries, solid-state perhaps, faster charging, safer, cheaper, et cetera. And if they can continue that kind of technology leadership, I think that bodes well for their future. I think the U.S. we have to see in terms of the market for Chinese electric vehicles. It's certainly not a welcoming one, but then also Donald Trump has said that he would not allow imports, but he would welcome Chinese EV makers to set up manufacturing plants in the United States. Europe is another story. I think it's very clear they are committed to a new energy vehicle future. The question then is that how soon can they reach an accommodation? Because this is not just about Chinese companies, but internal combustion engine automotive companies have deep supply chains. They employ a lot of people, whether the EV companies are Chinese or European. EV vehicles are much simpler to manufacture and assemble, so the employment will be much lower in any event. So I think once the Europeans come to terms with this future, my hope at least is that this will provide a better environment for Chinese EV makers like the BYDs, the NIOs, the XPengs, etc.
So Andy, how can the energy revolution and the auto revolution promote each other, do you think?
Well, these are related as well as separate. So the new energy vehicles, of course, rely on sustainable, renewable energy. Ideally, electricity is as produced by wind, solar, hydro, thermal, whatever. But when we talk about new forms of energy, we're also thinking about things like fusion, which not a lot of people are talking about. But you look at some investors that are considered visionary and savvy, like Sam Altman, the co-founder and CEO of OpenAI. One of his, what he calls one of his most exciting investments is in fusion. So we may see other breakthroughs like this as well. And this, again, is a very important development to keep an eye on.
Well, we're speaking with Andy Mark, Senior Research Fellow at the Center for China and Globalization, Chen Jiahe, Chief Investment Officer at Novum Archi Technologies, and also Ina Tangen, Senior Fellow at the Taihe Institute. And that's all the time we have for this edition of Biz Today. I'm Zhao Yang in Beijing. Thank you so much for listening.